don't even know where that landed.
Whoa. Yeah, Chris, you need that drink. You need that drink. Chris, okay, we need to share with the audience what you've been up to, Chris. You were invited, super exciting to a conference at a university in Georgia, very Shriver-esque for anyone who has read Shriver, and or seen A Little White Lie, formerly known as Shriver.
Right.
Formerly known as Shriver.
Yes. I
Tell
flew down.
us.
I flew down to Georgia, and I was a guest of the Augusta University Writers Weekend, and so it was me and one other writer. It was this hilarious woman, Alyssa Bassist, and it was the theme was humor.
Oh my God! Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did a reading, and then I did a little craft talk / discussion with the creative writing class at the university there.
How fabulous!
I was a judge in a contest. It wasn't a slam or anything like that. It was a different kind of thing. And then I was, what else did I do? We had a screening of the film, and we discussed that. And I ran a workshop at a beautiful bookstore.
That is so nice. Yeah, I saw the pics. Everybody follow Chris on Instagram if you're not already.
Yeah, Book Tavern, which was a gorgeous place, and everybody, it's the South. Everybody, they couldn't have been nicer. There was a lot of yawling going on.
Oh my God!
And then and I was also there on St. Patrick's Day, as it turns out, and it was a lot of action going on in Augusta.
Whoa.
There was it was a lot of green. All the fountains on the main drag there were green water. And
that's so cool.
There's Mom and Dad. Hey, Mom and Dad.
Hey, Mom and Dad. Oh, Mom and Dad just had to say they really, really enjoyed the movie. Really, really, really enjoyed the movie.
Mom and Dad. Thank you.
Yes. I know they tuned in last week, but they weren't as much in the chat, So, but anyways, like as they watched it on movie weekend, and we were, chatting about it forever, just how much we loved it, how funny it was, how much heart it has. But Chris Belden, I love that. I didn't know that the theme was humor, or maybe you told me and I forgot, but I don't think I remember. But either way, yes, Chris Belden, you have such a fabulous kind of quirky, quiet little humor in all of the works, at least that I've ever read of yours, and it is just absolutely delightful. And I think I'm sure those students were like very, very excited. I want to just keep asking you, what were some questions you got about the movie, about your writing, about humor? What were like one or two little, questions?
You've heard a lot of those questions because you were at those Q&As at those other screenings. But there's a lot of what's how'd the movie get made, and what was it like, and all the usual stuff. But it was a lot of fun.
That's nice.
It wasn't, it wasn't just students. I mean, there was anybody could come to this screening. It was a wide open screening and stuff. And
nice.
Students were very quiet and respectful and we didn't really talk about humor in my little craft talk, but the overall subject was humor of the weekend. So
nice.
there's a lot of fun going on at readings and stuff like that.
That is so great. Well, in our anniversary reading that we have coming up, where we are the features, Chris, I'm going to need to queue up some questions for you, kind of trying to bring together this whole experience and share it with the audience as well. I'm already cooking on some good questions for you, and I know you're going to want to read something amazing, but it would also be cool at some point to hear you read from from Schreiber. But anyways, I won't influence. I won't. I'm sure we've got all kinds of wonderful stuff to share.
Jay Curtis is in the house.
Midnight. I was just gonna say, Midnight is in the house. Hey, Midnight.
Midnight at the Oasis.
What's that?
Midnight at the Oasis. Remember that song? Oh, you're pretty young.
Who is it by?
Maria Muldaur. Midnight at the Oasis. That was a great song.
Wow. I don't know if I know that. I don't know if I know it. But Pete Nelson's in the house. Hey, Pete. All right. Well, it is actually past 8 o'clock. It is time for our official welcome to FUMFA 123, folks. We are super excited to welcome tonight S.H. Clark. Some of you may know her as Shannon Clark. She is a FUMFA alum, and we are so excited to have her featuring with us tonight. And we are also welcoming back to the FUMFA screen, Generalissimo Bryan Franco. You've seen him at our reading for the Red or Green Books group reading and our open mics before. We're finally getting him a feature spot tonight. We're so excited to get to hear him, read for a good long time with us. It's going to be a fabulous evening of reading. So please stick around for both of them, and please also stick around for the Q&A and get some cues in that chat. Hello, M.A. Dennis. Good to see you out there.
L.A. M.A. got on there and says, hell all.
Oh, he meant hello.
Hello, not hell.
That's kind of a fun, short way to say hello. Hell.
Hello.
There have been some wild times, where things got dystopian these past few years, kind of emphasizing the hell in
hell. Or you could say hell y'all.
No, Emma, we're just teasing. We're so happy that you're here. Your reading last week was incredible. If you did not get a chance to see M.A. Dennis and Charmant Influence Little, they were incredible, peeps. And you got to go back and watch that later when you have the chance. But before we get started tonight, Chris, what do we have coming up these next few weeks?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Next week, on Friday, we are having our monthly in-person open mic at Eco Evolution in South Norwalk at 7 o'clock. That's Friday, the 24th.
That's right.
We have some fantastic featured artists, including Amanda Parrish Morgan, Dre Toey is going to play some tunage, Dusty Nova. And then we got a whole bunch of people signed up. I haven't checked it lately, but
we have a ton of people signed up. It's going to be
awesome. It's going to be a lot of great stuff. Old friends like Barb Jennis, I think is on that list, and
Sandy Carlson,
and just tons of people, regulars.
Yep.
They're regulars now, and then some new people. And now, so then we're not going to be on Sunday because we're doing that Friday. But we are going to return the following Sunday, which is the 2nd of April. And we're going to have our 3rd anniversary. This little program we have going here. 3 years.
3 years, peeps.
Right. And it's going to feature some sparkling prose and fascinating and scintillating poetry.
Ooh.
The poetry courtesy of Katie the Schneider and some prose by yours truly, and that will be on the 2nd of April. 3 years of FUMFA Poets and Writers Live. Insane. And also want to remind people that next weekend, if you're in the New York City area,
yes,
Philip J. Curtis, aka Midnight, and our friend John Chance Acevedo will be in the New York City general vicinity doing all kinds of stuff.
If
Read.
you can get down to the city, people, you need to go and see them read, go and meet them, go get your book signed. It's a busy weekend. We've got our open mic on the Friday, but we're going to be trying to figure out how we can try and meet.
We're trying to hook up with these two dynamic and very busy, popular
Popular dudes.
So yeah, check it out. You can follow them on social media, and we'll be probably on our Facebook page. We'll probably post some links or something. I imagine.
Yes. I'll pull some of those dates so you can try and catch up with Midnight and Dance down in the city. But
you're in Brooklyn or the Bronx or probably some other places in Manhattan, I don't know. There's stuff going on, just lots of stuff. So.
Yeah. So come out to Eco Evolution Friday night, and then go check out Midnight and Chance down in the city. But it is time for us to get started with our readings for this evening. We are very excited to welcome our first reader of the evening, S.H. Clark. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi, everybody.
How are you
doing?
Thanks
for having me, you guys.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
Doing great, living the life. Busy, very busy.
Sounds good. All right, Shannon, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you with your bio. S.H. Clark is a romance author in the following subgenres: young adult, contemporary horror, and fantasy. Clark lives in Southern California with her 2 cats and her beloved coffee maker. I love that. When she's not writing, which is rare, she's an elementary school teacher on one of California's native reservations. She holds multiple secondary degrees, including an MFA in creative writing, has a bookshelf overflowing with paranormal romances, and loves to write to the sound of a thunderstorm. It's been said Clark has attempted to conjure Cadbury cream eggs with her Harry Potter wand, which is exactly what I would do if I had a wand as well. Awesome. All right, Shannon, take it away.
It has not worked yet. All right, guys, I'm going to be reading from my book, The Secrets of Constellations. It just came out on Valentine's Day, and it has done super well. It is Barnes & Noble's top indie pick of February and March. It is #1 bestseller in Amazon, and also #1 new release in young adult romance and adoption. So today I'm going to be reading chapter 4. And so what you need to know to this point is that my main character, Norway, was adopted when she was 2. And she has, on her 18th birthday, met her birth mother's lawyer. Her birth mother has passed away and has left her a house in Valley Center, California, which is where I work. And she has now flown across the country from Connecticut, because they pay homage, because I am a FUMFA alum. And she has gotten to this very eclectic house. The bathrooms look like Park Güell, very mosaic. Doors are upside down. It's very Tim Burton-esque. Like, I feel like Tim Burton's ghosts would live in this house. And now she has realized that there are 5 other people living in the house, basically her late mother's roommates. And so at this point in the book, it has been the first night, and she has just woken up, and she's just about to experience a roommate she didn't know she had. So we're going to see a few characters. You should know there is Willow, and she's the Native American housemate. She's famous for boycotting random things. For example, clothes or plates or shoes or even hair. But it always goes back to normal the next day. We have Dharma. We don't know much about her other than she is the local pot smoking hippie who does pottery. Willow is a painter. And we have Max, who works with charcoal. Orion, who is blind, who is the love interest, and he's a musician. And we're about to meet another guest. So we're going to pick up from there. And here we go. Secrets of Constellations, Chapter 4. I thought being in BJ's room would answer all my questions. Why did she give me up? Where was my father? Did I have an extended family somewhere? Did she have regrets? Was my name Betty Lou Who before I became Noré Whelan? But her room, with its creamy orange wallpaper, cluttered bookshelves, and decorative pillows, didn't say a word. Instead, the bedroom ended up giving me an urge to go downstairs and bake pretzels. The twisting of the loops helped me work through my frustrations. I felt like I invaded her space when I put my clothes away in the large armoire. Some of her shirts were still tightly folded in the bottom drawer, like the housemates couldn't bring themselves to take them out. I couldn't stop myself. I pulled out a plaid shirt, put it to my face, and inhaled. It smelled like pumpkin spice. Cambria, my best friend, at her Starbucks obsession, would be proud. A makeup table sat in front of the bay window. I sat down in the brown and cream wicker chair, still holding the shirt, and took a moment to imagine BJ sitting in my place and what she must have felt when she looked out the window. Outside, the moon floated lazily with the drifting clouds, and the echo of bats slipped through the glass. On my right was an old CD player. John Fluker's Asleep Beneath the Moon paused halfway through the song, filled the room when I turned it on. Maybe the piano soothed her brain. BJ had organized face creams, orange medicine bottles, a hairbrush, and a few bandanas on the table so perfectly, I came to the conclusion she was a perfectionist. Strike one against inheritance. A shoebox elevated a long brown wig on a plastic head. The strands felt like silk. BJ had taped a picture to the mirror. I saw the resemblance immediately. Not that the charcoal drawing Max hung up downstairs didn't showcase at all. Our jaws had the same round design, and a massive dosage of carbs and sugars would give us a healthier glow. We make the perfect Twix package. She had her arms tucked around the others. Dharma held an oversized hat on top of Willow's head. Willow laughed in the midst of eating a strawberry, and Max smiled at the camera from his seat on the ground. Behind the group, Orion hovered with a ghost smile. Around midnight, I passed out on the pillow-cluttered bed, still holding the plaid shirt, and didn't get up until the sun smacked me awake. That was when I noticed I wasn't alone. Curled up at my feet and staring at me with wide yellow eyes was a black and tan cat. I tried to shoo it away with my foot, but the cat simply stretched and yawned. Am I disrupting your life too? I asked my feline companion. A tiny meow answered my question. I rolled onto my back, lifted my arms above my head, and froze. An older woman with shocking white hair stood at the edge of my bed. Her lips turned down when I shot up and let out a scream. Those lungs can wake the dead. Her voice shook with age. You shouldn't scream so loud. You'll wake the house. I guess she was in her 80s by the spots and wrinkles on her hands and face. I sank back into the pillows as she smoothed out the strands of her perfectly shaped bob, followed by the invisible lines in her crisp red skirt suit. Huh. Wasn't this woman in the notebook? Good. Now, I'm here to warn you. I want you to stay away from the attic. It's my place, not yours. Attic? I recalled the footsteps I heard yesterday. It was you, wasn't it? Did you kick the door or something? She didn't answer. Instead, she straightened and left. I got up, slid on a sweatshirt, and picked up the cat on my way out of my room. My roommate's doors were closed, and as I turned to glance at the brown door, it slammed shut. Chills ran up my spine. The scent of freshly brewed coffee drew me toward the kitchen. After my wake-up call, I needed caffeine. Dharma stood at the counter, dressed in a pair of harem pants and a tank top, her long dreads piled on top of her head like a beehive. She was pouring herself a cup of coffee while reading an article from a magazine, utterly oblivious to the ash ready to drop off the end of her joint between her lips. I marched over and stole the coffee. Hey, you found Niku. Dharma pointed at the cat in my arms. I was wondering where he went. He's been missing since BJ left. I set the cat on the floor. Niku meowed and went for the water dish I'd missed last night. He was BJ's? Using Bobby Joe's nickname still felt strange on my tongue. I didn't know what to call her. Since everyone used BJ, I figured it was the right thing to say, but Mr. Hittyfork corrected me once. In front of him, I would use her full name. Where's all his hair? I asked as the cat darted out the open window. Dharma poured herself a new cup of coffee. Niku's a hairless cat. He's supposed to look like a rat on steroids. We sat down at the table together. So how was your first night? She asked as she stabbed her joint dead. Not what I expected, I divulged. I thought I'd be restless, but I slept hard. It was nice to be in a room without art. I held up my coffee. I found a picture tucked under some pillows, the one where she's standing alone in front of a willow tree. She was stunning, which explained my plainness. Compliments of the sperm donor. Ray Ray, she's surrounded by art. I think her room was her escape. She reached out and put her hand on mine. I know that picture. It was on her nightstand. She's not alone in it. She was 4 months pregnant with you. I hadn't seen a baby bump in the picture, but her hands were resting on her belly. I wonder if she had other pictures of me. I looked up at the ceiling, like I could see through the floorboards to my room. Where would she put them? I left her when I was a toddler, so somewhere, somehow, she must have snapped a picture. It would be nice to see my childhood. But the wonder disappeared with the idea that she might not have wanted pictures of our goodbyes. BJ might not have wanted pictures of me at all. I also had a visitor this morning, I told Dharma, spinning the cup in my hands. She was a little rude. Figured you'd meet her sooner or later. Her name's Lilu Ellison. She lives in the attic. She warned me to stay away. I don't know why. Nothing special about it. The craziest thing Lilu has is a private bathroom. I think BJ had it built for her. Dharma said it like she'd been in there a million times. Don't worry about her. She sticks to herself. If you want her to stay out of your room, just lock your door. That's what we do. Why didn't you mention her last night? She's like a ghost in the house. So much that sometimes I forget she's here. Odd, right? Since she's been here the longest, you'll hear her a lot. Dharma sipped her coffee. If she gets bored, she'll come down. We're her only access to the food. She's not big into cooking, so leftovers are her specialty. Her message was loud and clear. I made a mental note to start locking my door. How embarrassing would it be to get caught with my pants down? Dharma jumped up and rushed to the fridge. Let's start making friends. I'll make breakfast. Her butt wiggled to a tune in her head as she dug around. Watching her dance around the kitchen reminded me of Mom's failed attempts at cooking. She danced her problems away. I'll need to go shopping later. You can go with me. I'm about to use up most of the stuff. The summer heat started to slip in through the cracked window, so I pulled my sweatshirt off. I need some stuff. I heard something break as my hoodie refused to give up my neck. You okay? I yelled. Fine. Dharma started mixing ham and eggs in a pan, followed by an array of fresh vegetables, and topped it off with some red sauce from a small can with an angry chicken on the side. I ended up watching. She refused to let me help. I'd hate to make you work on your first real day, she declared as she cracked open the last egg of the eggs in the bowl. She made French toast dusted with cinnamon and powdered sugar. I decided to squeeze fresh orange juice and set the table. Dharma shook a spatula at me as I set the final plate in place. Don't set a place for Orion. He doesn't eat with us. I stared at the plate. Why? He stopped eating with us last year. I'm pretty sure he didn't have the heart to share the table with BJ, with her end coming and all. He doesn't do well with people leaving him. Dharma said it in a way that made me think there was a mountain below the tip of the iceberg. But I let it go. She took his plate from me and loaded it up with food. But it gives us a great excuse. Take it to him. I laughed quickly. Please tell me you're joking. He's complicated, not demonic. She winked and held up her coffee. The best way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I snorted. Fine. I picked up the plate and started backing out of the room. If I make a fool of myself, it's your fault. Her laugh followed me out the door. The march to Orion's room felt like the time I gave a speech in front of my economics class. Final grade comments? Do not choose a career in speech and debate. 20 pairs of eyes on me all at once caused minor projectile vomiting and a sudden case of the flu symptoms. My nerves jittered under my skin and I felt my throat close up. I couldn't remember if they were symptoms 1 and 2, but they weren't great. I took a steady breath at the top of the stairs and thought of Mom. Sleep was a time when the soul was most vulnerable and no one should be disturbed. I glanced down at my necklace, wondering if she could feel my unease. What if I damaged Ryan's soul? There's no coming back from ruining a person's soul. I didn't know if they were real, but I needed to tread lightly if they were. I knocked on his door with the side of my foot. When the door opened, I came to face with some pretty spectacular abs. Who needed a washing machine when they had Orion's stomach walking around? Cue an instant case of hot flashes. Because, honestly, who wouldn't be affected by this guy this gorgeous? Cambria would bend the knee to his pecs. Orion rubbed his chest, and I noticed a small scar, barely the thread of a needle on his collarbone. Yep, collarbone, because I was working on looking north. Compliments of Willow's outfit yesterday. Because I was looking up, I noticed he didn't have on his sunglasses. Without them, I realized Orion was my age, maybe a year older. At least I wasn't hot for an old guy. Benedict Cumberbatch was an old guy. Exceptions. Good morning, I squeaked. My voice betrayed the effect Orion had on me. I coughed to suppress it. Special breakfast delivery. Orion righted at the sound of my voice. Thanks. The word sounded genuine. He held out his hands, and I handed him the plate and the cup. And then he get the door shut in my face. Okay, Orion was not Prince Charming. Dad wasn't a morning person, so I wasn't completely put off by the door slamming in my face, but someone needed to learn some manners before he found my foot shoved up his cute tush. I pounded on the door. The door opened again, and there he was, holding a piece of French toast between his lips. Where's my thank you? I asked him, putting my hands on my hips. I have an even better question we could consider this morning, he offered around a mouthful of food. What's that? Orion swallowed. Should I be ready to live on the street? Look, you don't know me, but I always look for the best in people and things. I might decide to keep the place. BJ was my mom, after all. I watched his eyebrows lift into the waves of his hair. He noticed my hesitation over BJ's title. I wasn't sure how to refer to her. Calling her mom felt like I was betraying, well, mom. If you want me to keep it, why don't you help me out? Help me love this place. Orion rested his large arms on the door frame again. The closer he leaned, the warmer the air grew. I closed my eyes and inhaled the scent of a forest during a thunderstorm. Nordstrom's needed to bottle that smell. They'd make a killing. How? Was all he said, and it was enough to send chills across the back of my neck. I don't know, I answered honestly. Trying to explain how much we love it here is like trying to count the stars. It's impossible. Then don't explain it, I offered. Even I thought it sounded cheesy. I don't understand you, he whispered, moving closer until our noses were an inch apart. I felt my breath catch as his face hovered over mine. Why are you here? The silence stretched on as I considered his question. While he waited for my answer, his chest rose and fell with his breath steeper than usual. Hopefully, I didn't smell like an airplane. I needed a good shower. I don't know yet. I stepped back, but I'm going to find out. And if you want to find out, you can buy my book on Amazon and all ebook retailers, because I'm going to stop there tonight so I don't give away the ending. But I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Wow! Oh my goodness, Shannon, what fun!
Hold up that book
All of that book.
so people can see what the
Oh my
cover
gosh, here it is.
There we go. Fantastic.
What an
There
awesome
it is.
cover.
Secrets of Constellation.
Constellations.
I know. I have
there's that
an
jar.
amazing team. It's a jar, and there's constellations in the jar.
Yep.
And Orion's belt is actually inside the jar, which is amazing.
Cool.
Caroline, who works for Fire and Ice Wife, did it, and I absolutely love it. I think if anyone gets their hands on it, you will fall in love with it. It is a great book. Lots of humor, as you can tell. Yes. Lots of angst and maybe a little bit murder. So definitely get your hands on that if you're into
some spice.
Some spice.
It's a mystery. It's got some spice. Yeah.
We love the spice.
Very important for Katie. She likes the spice.
Yeah. I like it all. I like it all, to be honest. But the spice, got me going, woo, in the chat. So much fun, Shannon.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a good one. The chemistry is undeniable.
oh my God. Oh, I love
All
the
right.
chemistry.
All right.
So much fun, Shannon. Okay, well, everybody, save your cues for the Q&A for Shannon. We're gonna have a great time asking you more about the process with that, and it's so much fun to get someone who's writing some paranormal stuff, some romance, some mystery on here. Very, very exciting. So we're gonna look forward to that. Shannon, we'll see you around 9. All right. Chris, what an awesome start to the evening.
I know. I was like, I was starting to, like, what's going on here? What's up with this old lady? Is she a ghost? She's just like.
Maybe she's not.
And then the abs. I know you got.
And then the abs, and then how he smelled real good, and how he doesn't ever want to leave. I don't know. I don't know
what's going on in this house here, but it sounds interesting.
Exciting. I'm into it, Chris. I'm into it. Well, we're going to have a great time asking Shannon some questions, but we need to get to our second feature of the evening. I am super excited to welcome back to the FUMFA stage, Generalissimo, Bryan Franco. Hey, Generalissimo.
Gracias.
Oh, sorry.
He's got that nice beard going. Good. That's a great beard, Generalissimo.
It's too much beard. I need to do a little trimming.
Oh, it's not. No,
do a Belden.
Only Belden can do a Belden and pull off a Belden.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Generalissimo, how have you been doing this weekend? How was your weekend?
It has been relatively uneventful, but just a lot of stuff, just a lot of minutia stuff around the house type of stuff, and cleaning, and the spring is spring, and you got to do the spring cleaning.
You got to do that spring cleaning. That's right.
A lot of vegetables and getting food ready for next week. Trying to do the responsible thing.
Do that meal prep. Do that meal prep.
Sort of, yeah.
Nice. Well, Generalissimo, I know Chris needs to share your bio with the audience, but I just want to show everyone my copy of Everything I Think Is All of My Mind by Generalissimo Bryan Franco that I picked up at the New York City Poetry Festival, and it is signed as well. I couldn't be more honored to have this, and hopefully I'm sure you'll be sharing a bit from that tonight.
Well, the honor is for me to be friends with both of you and have you welcome me into your event. So thank you.
Well, it's about time we got you a feature spot on here, Generalissimo. We're really so excited that you're able to join us this evening. Chris, would you do the honors of sharing Generalissimo's bio?
Of course. Generalissimo Bryan Franco is a gay Jewish poet from Brunswick, Maine. He competed with the Portland, Maine Rhythmic Cipher Slam team in the 2014 National Poetry Slam out in Oakland, California. He has been published in the US, Australia, England, Germany, India, Ireland, and Scotland, and has featured for poetry events in the US, Canada, England, Ireland, and Scotland. He's also facilitated poetry workshops for Brunswick High School, Tumblewords Project, and Finnacabulary. He was a finalist.
Finnacabulary.
He was a finalist in the 2022 NAMI New Jersey, right? NJ Dara Axelrod Expressive Arts Poetry Contest, and was nominated not once but twice for Best of the Net. He hosts Cafe Generalissimo open mic. He's a member of the Beardo Bards of the Bardo Poetry Troupe. He's a painter, sculptor, gardener, and culinary genius. And his book, Everything I Think is all in my mind was published in 2022 by Red or Green Books, and that's Red, READ, or Green Books, our friends over there. And take it away, Generalissimo.
Well, before I even start to read, I just want to say, Shannon, you are amazing. It was really wonderful to listen to you. And let's start. First piece is a really old piece, but I really like it, and I just wanted to do it. I felt in the mood to do it. It's called The Art of the Take, or The Meaning of Live. Gimme, gimme, gimme money. Pay my rent, don't keep me, feed me, don't take my dignity. Give me the good life. To me, a good life is a life not spent alone. Gimme, gimme, gimme honey, the royal jelly from a hive of bees, sticky and sweet, melting into my morning tea. Its flavor taking my taste buds to ecstasy. Gimme, gimme, gimme sugar. When it's white, it's sweet. Yet when it's brown, it's got all the stuff the white ain't got. Then there's sugar that's almost black, so hard it must be heated to soften it, to use it, even though it's a little bitter. There's always some hidden sweetness in everything that's bitter. Gimme, gimme, gimme rice. It can be sticky, it can be fluffy. So many colors. White is nice, but a bit of a letdown when you taste brown. So hearty and earthy. Then there's red, so seductively savory, and black rice, a superfood once reserved for royalty. It turns everything in the purple, like squid ink, paint everything black. No matter where you go, you will find a different rice. Rice is the grain of life. We can survive alone. It nurtures our blood, brains, and bones. So gimme, gimme, gimme all I want, all I need. Gimme money, gimme honey, gimme sugar, gimme rice, gimme life, gimme love, gimme breath, gimme air, gimme water, gimme the world. When someone says gimme, they really say, let me take from you. And if you give a little every time you take, those you take from won't eat your cake. After all, life is basically give and take, and all human beings take and give. What if instead of gimme, you said let me give? You might discover that the meaning of to give is what it really means to live. This next piece just got accepted into the Vagabond Books Descent anthology, which has yet to come out. It's called Colors of War. I cannot claim to comprehend what it's like to live in a war zone. The split second the first shot is fired, life would have to transform from living and breathing to fighting and surviving. Reality would change to an alternate reality that would whittle away the past with every next shot fired. Colors could represent themselves differently from their realities, so beauty could exist amongst constant chaos and turmoil. Every shade of blood could find new identities in our minds. The brightest reds could be a shiny Corvette in a Prince song, or a sticky, sweet maraschino cherry. Maroon could be a soft, demure cashmere sweater, accented by grandma's pearls paired with skinny jeans and toe-squeezing stilettos. Deep purple could embody a tree-ripened plum whose juice cascades down your chin and stains your favorite shirt. Then there's blood that is almost black and void of other pigment one might think was poisoned by gunpowder rather than lack of oxygen at the wound site. All the khaki and olive green in soldiers' uniforms seem so casual, but there's nothing casual about a tank casually flattening a car and shelling another with an evacuating family inside. There's nothing casual about a warplane dropping a bomb containing multitudes of tiny bombs designed to wipe out acres of apartment buildings, stores, and cars, destroying property and people like a pressure cooker filled with explosives and nails set to explode during a marathon. There is brass that should be shiny, brass bars, stars, wings, and birds belonging to people who give orders to others who take orders. Brass tarnished by smoke and blood and dust and death that will never find its way back to shiny again. Finally, there is the whites of the eyes of the despot who gave the order to invade a neighboring nation, a despot whose peoples fear him and become silent as if they were born without voices. The white in his eyes is so bright it blinds anyone who chooses to maintain eye contact. Anyone who inhales hard enough in his presence might smell the bleach he used to erase the color in his irises, to create a white that disappears into death, destruction, and nothingness. And the next three poems were accepted into the Scars anthology, which will be released in conjunction with Mental Health Awareness Month. Verse is called I Never Understood What the Feathers Were For. When I was young, I was shy and awkward. I had learning and motor disabilities. I was uncoordinated and unathletic. It wasn't uncommon for other kids to tar and feather me with their words, with the side effect of causing scars. Along the way, I became friends with other kids who had been tarred and feathered themselves. As we got older, we became immune to tar due to all the buildup over the years, which eventually chipped away from our identities. And what was underneath wasn't scars, but a glow of fuck youism, because we knew the bullies would learn they were bullies when their kids became bullies because they could never erase being a bully from their identities. This is called Land of the Glass Cattails. For it has been told, a drunken angel fell to earth and landed in a muddy marsh filled with cattails. The marsh transformed. Mud turned to silky sugar-white sand. Cattails turned to glass. There was no more darkness or rain. Light refracted through the cattails, producing little pieces of broken rainbows that could cure a lost soul of life's ills. Or you broke the glass cattails. You Googled how to snap a human soul in half like a twig. You were wearing boots made for tromping through marshes and snapping cattails like twigs. When you broke the glass cattails, you made a decision to break me as if I were crisp autumn leaves beneath your feet. You had decided you were a giant and I was Jack come to pillage your castles. The day after you broke the glass cattails, you woke wearing those boots. They were fused to your feet, words, actions, and attitude. When you left the castle, your boots and you bought an axe to chop down a beanstalk. You needed to destroy my world and bring me down to your level, but I live in a different world where beanstalks grow beans and castles in the sky are fiction. I landed on my own 2 feet and walked away with more than a few bumps, bruises, scrapes, and scars. I learned abusers are hunters and abused people often happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when a hunter is out sniffing for new prey. What you never learned was that a person can't break someone else's soul, only their own. As long as you choose to wear those boots, you will be breaking off bits and pieces of your soul every day for the rest of your life. The place where the glass cattails grow, lost souls can only enter naked. No clothes, no boots. Where the glass cattails grow, there is only sunlight, sand, glass cattails, and little pieces of broken rainbows that can cure a lost soul of life's ills. This one is when you don't know your words are tattooed on your face. You told me my house was made of straw, and you were the big bad wolf. Your words were hurricane force winds that blew my house down. I grew my next crop of hay in red clay so my next home could resist you. Then your words were made of fire, and my charred skin chipped away, revealing a leathery elephant hide that was heat and flame-proof. So you ordered your words to spit acid in my face, but the tears that rolled over the hardened scars on my cheek learned to repel you. All your words are laced with ruinous disdain. When you speak at others, you are actually talking to yourself. Wind has permanently mussed your stylish coif, leaving you unkempt looking. Fire has singed your eyebrows, permeating your warped conscience with the putrid aroma of burnt human hair. All that acid you consumed has etched nooks and crannies into your soul that can only be filled with regrets. Welcome to the mirror you have chosen to live in. This next piece was accepted into the National Beat Poetry Foundation Natural Words Anthology, which of Natural Words Anthology, which is going to be released in conjunction with Earth Day. It's called We Are Weed Whackers. When a weed grows through a crack in pavement, it gets labeled disruptor. It will be evicted from sidewalk, driveway, or road, weed whacked. It will be yanked out or sprayed with a chemical not so good for the environment or human respiratory systems. Sometimes these invaders of hard surfaces are executed with ultra skinny flamethrowers, future flowers devoured by man-made firestorms. Sometimes amongst the gray and black urban landscape, a daisy will peekaboo through a crack in a sidewalk, announcing that sidewalk cracks don't break mama's backs. If we went back in time before there was a sidewalk or street, there might have been a forest of trees or field of wildflowers before all the humans came along and said, "This looks like a nice spot for a house." Then came another house and another and another, and horses and carriages and cars and paved roads and neighborhoods with sidewalks where people feel it necessary to torch innocent daisies from gray concrete. But before all the man-made existed, the daisies existed in harmony with other flowers and trees and birds and squirrels, and the humans that happened along were the true disruptors. Okay, this was accepted into the National Beat Poetry Foundation's Beat Style Love Anthology called Unrequited. I am a deer in headlights in your presence, just the side of you. When you gently graze my elbow unintentionally, oops. When you lightly tap me on the shoulder, when you say hello to me. God help my heart if you wave or smile at me from across a crowded room, if you dare to look me in the eyes. For me to tell you how I feel would make my heart beat so fast it would have to jump out of my chest to survive. I will write my feelings in a poem in a squiggly black and white cardboard covered comp book, tear the page from the notebook, fold it in thirds, shove it in an unmarked envelope under a pile of paid bills in my desk drawer, so I shall never risk reading it to you or anyone else. If I did so, I might learn why the word crush exists. You could hold my mushy heart in your hands and twist it and wring out my ability to smile, leaving only residual heartbreak tears that would never dare exit my eyes. I shall take a deep breath. I shall never exhale. I shall never accept our existence. I shall accept our existences as separate. I shall accept being afraid of my shadow is the same as being afraid of being in love. I hope one day you will reciprocate my feelings without my expressing them to you, so I can finally be able to read you this poem. This was accepted in the Moonstone Arts Love in the Original Language anthology. It's called Why I'm Addicted to Merlot Flavored Chapstick. When we kiss, my heart beats a little faster. When we kiss, my heart tries to escape my body. It screams to let it out of jail. It tries to stick a finger through the bars and poke a hole through my chest. It runs makeshift drumsticks along the bars to its cell to sound like steel drums and starts singing red, red wine. Because your kisses are like a nice Merlot in which I taste notes of vanilla, blackberry, and nutmeg, and hold in my mouth a little longer than usual because its rich, sanguine texture requires me to savor it. And after I swallow that first sip, I touch the tip of my tongue to my lips so I don't lose the flavor. Your kisses are a glass of wine that will eventually be empty, and I am besotted. I am besotted and bewitched when you finish a kiss by biting my lower lip. After we kiss, I always secretly tuck my lips inside my mouth to savor your kisses. You have told me how you can't stand when I start singing Red, Red Wine out of the blue, but how do I tell you that my besotted heart desires a kiss and I am swept off my feet every time you smile after we kiss? Okay? The next poem is called Even Though I Was Not Born When FDR Said We Have Nothing to Fear Except Fear Itself, I believe he was channeling me. Uno, I am not sure whether I am more afraid of living or dying. Dos, I'm not sure whether I'm more afraid of the past or the future. Tres, I am not sure whether I'm more afraid of failure or success. Cuatro, I am not sure whether I'm more afraid of dreaming or not fulfilling my dreams. Cinco, I am not sure whether I'm more afraid of waking up or the existence of the sun. Seis, I am not sure whether I'm more afraid of fresh air or breathing it. Siete, I'm not sure whether I'm more afraid of the mirror or denying its existence. Ocho, I'm not sure whether I'm more afraid of being invisible or being seen. Nueve, I'm not sure whether I'm more afraid of being ignored or being anonymous. Yes, I'm not sure whether I'm more afraid of being anonymous, being afraid, or simply just being. Trying to comprehend the physics of tears. Why do some tears feel so hot they could cut a rut down my cheek as a path for future tears, while some tears feel as if they broke off an Arctic ice floe into the Atlantic waiting to sink the Titanic? Why do my eyes decide to boil saline or keep inventory in cube trays? How do the powers that be decide what life events warrant what temperatures? I understand why I cry, but I don't understand why sometimes tears drop only from one eye, or why tears sometimes pour down in torrents, but sometimes trickle like maple sap on a late February day. I can't comprehend the physics of crying. Sometimes I cry for no reason at all because I have a disease called depression. Sometimes the littlest thing will set me off. Maybe a memory gets triggered about my deceased mother or father or my friend Beth who passed from cancer. It can be a song or a line in a movie or Madras hat or potato soup or Labrador retriever. Sometimes I feel I am a slave to my tears. I wonder if I sometimes cry, hoping a tear will track down my cheek to the edge of my lips so I can taste saline, so I can taste sadness, so I can taste hurt, so I can taste anger, so I can taste heartbreak that causes this substance to secrete from my emotions. Why do I feel compelled to tell anyone who bears witness to my crying it's just allergies, when crying is an essential mental health physiological response? Crying is not a sign of fragility, but an indication of fortitude. It's how our bodies shed dead bark that exists on trees that inhabit our souls. Yet, when I cry in the presence of others, I tend to turn away when what I need most is a validating smile or hug or patronizing shoulder squeeze. Tears are a gift from God. Tears are a gift to our lips and the tips of our tongues. Tears are a gift to our skin. Sometimes after a good cry, my face feels like it feels after I dunk my head in the ocean when my skin breathes because my soul is breathing. Next time you want to stop yourself from crying, don't. Learn to celebrate your tears. They're hard to celebrate when they're happening. As Yiddish theater legend Ishka Bibel Shipowitz once said, the reason the sun can shine bright during a thunderstorm is the same reason a good cry is best followed by a quick, impromptu laugh. Your mouth starts getting dry a little. Ode to a good burger. A good burger can be a pub burger, crusty on the outside, slightly pink on the inside, plump and pillowy, sandwiched between toasty brioche or potato roll or ciabatta. The type of burger that compresses to just wide enough for your mouth when you squeeze the sandwich. When you take a bite, its juices drip onto the fries like manna from heaven. No condiments are needed for this grilled masterpiece. Lettuce, sliced raw onions, and beautiful bread and butter pickles under the bun are proverbial cherries on top. A good burger can be a greasy burger smashed flat on a flat top with American cheese, chili, lettuce, chopped onions, a thick slice of tomato, and maybe just mustard or barbecue sauce. It's not as fancy as a pub burger, but it takes your taste buds on a trip to the beach after you packed everything up and the sun has begun to set, but still shines brightly in that cheap roadside non-chain local little joint where everyone sits outside at picnic tables and finishes the day with soft serve ice cream and honey cones. A good burger is a beefy road trip. Sometimes it's a family vacay to Disney. Sometimes it's a day at Six Flags. Sometimes it's just an old fashioned Sunday drive in the country. Every good burger is always a place to return to. This one is called Incursion on Filet Mignon. After he cut off a charred edge of steak, before he bit his first bite, he impaled the steak with a steak knife, which stood at a perfect 90-degree angle perpendicular to the steak. He imagined himself a Viking on a pillage. The stake was a sentry to a castle he breached. The knife was a sword that had last belonged to his great uncle. He swiped the sliver of charred meat into the au jus pooling in the plate, then dipped it into mashed potatoes, sprinkled with black pepper, freshly ground from a 1 foot tall solid wood pepper mill his sister gave him as a housewarming gift. He savored the savory bite as his teeth chewed. His taste buds invaded his brain with endorphins, which found decompression with a single sanguine swallow of Syrah, sending his satiety into a detention until he could attack his again. A treatise on the edibility of onion skins. I don't recognize who I see in the mirror. It's not the unkempt beard or the baggage under my eyes. It's the onion trapped inside my soul, unable to peel away its inedible outer layers because my heart has been broken so many times. Its skin is made of several haphazardly wrapped layers of duct tape, frayed edges attracting bodily detritus like a lint trap in a dryer, encased in mistakes and wrong decisions, furthering inaccessibility, creating an impenetrable layer to love and happiness that can only be breached, that cannot be breached via sad love songs or tear jerkers or ear nibbles or slow moving fingertips. There is no Prince Charming capable of kissing away history. Munitions experts would be wasting their time with dynamite. Superman might go blind if he tried to melt it with his stare. I am resigned to accept my permanently damaged heart beating and trying to find ways to find love despite all the duct tape and detritus that might only exist in my mind. And superpower. I woke one day to discover I was invisible. It was just for that one day. I couldn't leave the house or drive away as much as I wanted. If I went to the farmer's market, people would bump into me and drop their tomatoes or eggs or jars of pickles. I could have tried to wear clothes, but there'd be no face or hands. People would freak out. For if I tried to venture out naked, what if the invisibility disappeared? Exhibitionism has never been my thing. There have been times I wished I was invisible. There have been times I felt invisible. It can hurt so bad emotionally, it doesn't need to cause physical pain. It's the type of pain that pops its head out of its whack-a-mole hole when I least expect it. The idea of invisibility as a superhero superpower is misguided. Invisibility only leads to loneliness. That's why it can never truly exist. This next one is called Before, and it is dedicated to Rita Rusty Rose and everyone else inside Stonewall Inn when it was raided by NYPD June 28th, 1969. The Shangri-La sang Give Them a Great Big Kiss on the jukebox before it happened. It was a hot, humid evening. Judy had passed 6 days prior. She was one of the original allies decades before ally was used for our purpose. Dorothy was the ultimate lost soul in a surreal, hopeful tale. We all hoped for a world where windows didn't have to be blacked out in our bars. We all hoped we didn't have to hide our true selves in public or at work. None of us believed it was possible. There was always a chance the cops might raid our spaces and print our names in the papers. It was a hot, humid evening. The subway was crowded. I climbed the steep mountainous stairs from underground, walked up Christopher Street, told the bouncer at the door the password, and entered. Sat at the bar. The beer was cold. I felt relief as it cooled my throat. I was in a place that was filled with people like me. Dare I use the word family? It was as safe as a space could be decades before someone would say the words safe space. Patrons danced and smiled and flirted just like any other bar. Then it happened. And this final piece is one of my signatures. It's called How to Get Away with Public Nudity. When I read my poetry, I empty myself of me. I'm not pretending to be someone else. I'm not exactly stepping out of myself. Maybe I'm stripping bare without removing any clothing. Maybe the clothes I choose to wear are a costume I use to hide in plain sight. Maybe the words I commit to page and extol through voice are my version of streaking across the 50-yard line while Lady Gaga sings the Star-Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl. When I empty myself of me when I read my poetry, it's like tossing a deck of cards in the air and hoping the jokers land face up. Every day I wake up a wild card that tries to learn its way out of being wild. When I empty myself of me when I read my poetry, every time I play 50 to pick up the cards, put them back in the box, return to living life, and because I'm a poet, I get to empty myself of me every time I write a new poem, if I choose. Gracias, everyone.
Wow! Generalissimo! Oh my God. I mean, so many, a relentless stream of just powerful, vulnerable, funny, just wonderful poems. Generalissimo. You know, we see you on Put It in the Chat, and you've got like 5 minutes, and you're like rapid fire through 3 amazing poems. And it was just the coolest thing to be able to have you for these 25 minutes here and to get to hear such a tremendous amount of your work. Some favorites that I've heard before and just some really powerful new ones. And gosh, I love that burger poem as well. It was wonderful to hear that Stonewall poem, and then that your signature poem at the end, just so funny, but so real, and so sweet. Generalissimo, we just love you. Just wonderful. Chris, I'm gushing here.
Yes. It's overwhelming. And so many poems that are about to appear in these anthologies. I mean, it was one after the other. So congratulations on all this success getting your poems out there.
We got a lot of rejection with all the yeses. You get a lot of no's too. That's the game.
Oh, always. But you gotta keep sending them.
That's how it works. But you're obviously taking a lot of time to send your work out there. So maybe we can address that too. Because that's such a part of being a writer. It's so we could talk about that too. Amazing.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring our other rock star feature back up to the screen. Let's have a oopsie. That's the one I want. Sorry. And there we go. Let's have another round of applause for S.H. Clark and Generalissimo Bryan Franco. Woo!
And S.H., thank you very much. That was such a cool story.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Thank you. Yes. And your poems were amazing. My mom and I were enjoying that back here.
Yay!
Mom.
Well, both of you have some really, really wonderful comments in the chat, which you will have to go check out later. I would say most of them on Facebook, a few in YouTube. We always have some viewers in Twitter. We just can't monitor them live. So, hey, Twitter viewers. So please just go check out all of the love that you've gotten out in the chat. A lot of quotes of your fabulous lines. Everybody, audience, get those questions in the chat. We're going to get started with our famous first question. Chris Milden.
We'll start with Shannon, aka S of S.H. Clark, and then we'll go over to Generalissimo. So how has writing and being a writer changed your life?
Just a small question.
Okay.
We like to start it off light.
Damn.
You guys play hardball. Okay. Okay. So how has it changed my life? I mean, being a writer has always been my dream. I mean, I remember, growing up, everyone was like, oh, you want to be an astronaut or a princess. And, I was the one like, nope, I was on Space Mountain. I know how that ends. I'm not going to be an astronaut. Nope. I can save myself. Thank you very much. Don't need to be a princess. I was the one that I was memorizing the picture books my parents were reading to me, and I was changing them because I was bored and I wanted to make new stories. So becoming a writer, getting my undergrad in writing, getting my degree as a FUMFA alumni, it's just opened a lot of doors. I've I've made some beautiful relationships in the
Mm.
process of it. You know, my former mentor, Da Chen, rest in peace, love him. He was the one. He's actually, the book is dedicated to him. Yeah, he was the one
beautiful.
that was always like, you know, one day you're going to be the one that everyone wants to hear read.
That's
and
right.
you know, an old mentor, Eugenia Kim, being like, you know, write what you know. And that's really where this book came from. And all my books that I've been writing, it really has just given me so much. I don't know, my view of the world has changed because I get to see the world in different ways. And then just being thrown into the publishing world. Like, I was self-published before this. My first book is self-published on Amazon. And that one is my MFA thesis that's
Wow.
self-published. And then now seeing the process of like, oh, there's a lull, like,
Yeah.
you know, in the sense of like, now I need to create more. But you know, it's busy. I'm always busy, and it's having to find that time because I'm also the teacher, but I wouldn't give it up. And I love it. And I love the relationship I make and my new fans. I have fans now. I have fans. Like, that's a really weird feeling and something to say. Like, I never like, oh yeah, cool. People like it. I have fans. So, you know, it's fun. I really enjoy it. I'm glad I decided to stick with it. And I just look forward to seeing what else happens.
That is so wonderful, Shannon. That is just so fantastic. We love all of those wonderful ways that writing has changed and formed and your life and given you so many wonderful experiences. And now we got to pass that question over to you, Generalissimo. How has writing changed your life?
It's presented something to me that I didn't know that I could do and be good at. I think that when I first started writing poetry, I was in my late 20s. I lived in New York City, and I didn't really know that this was going to be something that I could do. And I had just been through a very severe depression, and I had isolated myself in my apartment for like 2 weeks. And one of the first things I did is I went to this little coffee house that I loved, and it turned out it was on the night of a poetry reading. And I sat down. I brought a newspaper with me so I could just do the crossword puzzle and read and not talk to anyone. And then I saw this person in the back of the room on a stage talk about poetry. And I said, oh shit, I don't think I want to deal with this. But I listened, and I loved the poetry. And there was this female slam poetry group that was the feature that blew me away. And I'm walking home, and all of a sudden, all this stuff is inside of me starts coming out, and I didn't know it was there. And I spent like hours on my keyboard at my computer. And then I went back the next week to the same poetry reading, and I found other poetry readings to go to. But it was, you know, it was sort of short-lived because I had to move back to Alabama within a few months. And that was sort of a poetry desert. And then when I moved to Maine in 2001, Portland, Maine was like sort of a bit of a mecca for poetry at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a lot of things happened at once, but it still took a long time. I was on a slam team in 2014, which was really cool. And along the way, I've just met a lot of great people.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever really felt appreciated for anything but my writing. Sometimes
Generalissimo.
thought about it's probably not necessarily true. I mean, I am depression, so we see things a little different, you know. But it's something that I can really say that I'm good at, and it's something that I really put my heart and soul into. And there's other things I've put my heart and soul into that I've been good at, but just haven't panned out. And I'm not that I'm making money at this, but it's a real special thing, you know.
Yes.
And what the pandemic and Zoom poetry, me finally being able to do things that I've denied myself doing even beforehand. I never submitted to anything before the pandemic, so it was kind of weird.
Really? That's incredible. Generalissimo, you've been writing for so many
Well,
years and you didn't submit until then. You know, there have been so many just fascinating silver linings of the pandemic. I mean, and it's also the way that so many of us who went straight online to start doing readings, that's how we connected. That's how we know you. We know you through Put It in the Chat. We got connected, first to Midnight, who knew one of our FUMFA people. I believe still a current student, and I'm not sure if Lona has graduated yet, but just these incredible webs of connections. And we've met so many New Eurekan people and New York Poetry Festival people and Bronx Art and Fun Hub people, and we've even met them in person. It's been incredible, but it's so lovely to hear that writing has profoundly changed your life and has given you so much. And you've given us so much through being a poet. We're so happy that you are a writer.
Thank you.
Yes.
It was
Absolutely.
so wonderful meeting both of you in person last year. So
I know, that was so special. We met Generalissimo in person at the New York City Poetry Festival. It was wild. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I got a Katie hug.
Yes, you did.
Personal Katie hugs are special.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Oh, Shannon, I'm sending you one.
Take one virtually.
Yes, absolutely. If we ever have a chance to meet in person, anybody out there in the audience or any of our friends.
Before back in the 80s, she used to give she called them designated hugs over the phone.
Oh, that's so sweet. That is so sweet. All right. Well, we have some questions in the chat from our friend, feature from last week, M.A. Dennis. He has one here for SH. Question: you had some great dialogue. How do you turn those great phrases like "he's complicated, not demonic"? That was such a great one. Great question.
So I think of all the different techniques in writing, I think dialogue is what I excel in. It's just something I focused on for a long time, wanting to make sure that my characters sound like somebody you would be talking to over the phone or, your friend. And so as I'm developing my characters, which does take a while, I'm really very focused in making sure that I know everything about what my character's like. Yeah. Like Dharma, who says he's complicated, not demonic. Like she, I know everything about her from I know what's in her bedside drawer. I know what she hides in the glove compartment of her car, which is a beat up Beetle. I know all the moles on her body. It's just everything. And so when I'm writing, it's almost like I can hear they all sound different to me in my head, which is, as a writer, you learn if you write at least fiction or nonfiction, you hear things right now. So for the dialogue, it's almost like a natural, that character takes up space in my soul almost. Yeah. And their dialogue comes really natural to me. And so when I was writing these characters, I wanted to make sure that they all came across very differently. Because I didn't want you to be reading a scene with, the house is majority female. Unless you count the cat, then the boys win. And so if I had all three girls in the same scene, you needed to know the difference in how they spoke.
I love that.
So a lot of this line by itself, it popped up. A lot of it is so natural to me that I can't even tell you how I do it, because I don't really have a plan, and I write. And so
people just start talking.
They start talking, and my mom makes the joke that if she lived in my head for any period of time, she would probably need to be institutionalized, because she couldn't handle the multitude of voices I hear.
The characters.
Actually, when I'm writing a new book. And so constellations alone, you have the 5 in the house, Orion's mom, her 2 parents, the lawyer, the people in town. So every single person. I even know how much the cat eats. You know,
Right.
like
Yes.
I know what his meow sounds like. So, you know, all of them, they just kind of, they give me the dialogue that I need. And then really my agent, Erica, she does go in and she reads it and she goes like, can you fix this? This doesn't seem. And then of course, you know, I've been helpful with the editors. So, but in the creative process, it's a lot of, they just give me what they need. So
Right.
yeah.
I think that's
Hope
so
that
cool.
answers the question, because it's
I think
hard.
it definitely does. You know, as a single genre poetry person, I can't relate directly to this, but I've heard so much about fiction writers like knowing their characters, like kind of going down this list of like things you would know about like a real person that you knew extremely well. And you actually like, if even if you never write about that, like knowing everything about this character so that just these descriptions, the dialogue, it comes naturally and it sounds so real. And that was so cool what you described. It sounds like, you know, that the dialogue is so real to you, that these characters are really living with you, and that it becomes easy and very natural to write them. Chris, can you speak about that dialogue aspect?
Oh, it is kind of weirdly magical in some ways, because for me it's not like it doesn't happen with every character either. It's like some characters are harder than others. It's like, you know, it takes a while to kind of, it's almost like a real person, like to get to know them,
right?
And then hopefully you do, and it comes out. But every once in a while there always seems to be at least one character who just sort of like, for whatever reason, just starts talking, and that's like, okay, I know what this person sounds like.
Yeah.
So
that is so cool.
Absolutely. Like in my book, Dharma, like she could talk. She would be the next book. Like she could talk for hours. Whereas like Lilu, the old lady that is grumpy, she has officially shut up and she doesn't want to talk anymore. Like she's done. I'm like, okay, we're not. Like she doesn't want to talk. I'm like, all right.
I think that's so cool too, because like you've gotten to know these characters, and you know if they have more to say, you know if they have another story, you know if there's more there. It kind of flows like that. That is very cool. Very cool. We have an M.A. Dennis question for Generalissimo. After such a wonderful set, it's hard to believe you ever got rejected, Generalissimo, and I would agree. What is your submission process?
Ooh. Well, I look at different like one of the I always look at the listings in submittable. A lot of people, and I share things that come up on Facebook, and other people do too. So you have to find out about things, but sometimes you don't find out about things till a week or the day before the deadline. You know, some people don't share a submission until something to submit to until they get accepted, because they're afraid that their friends might get some.
No, that's terrible.
I can admit that I might have done that in the past, but
Generalissimo.
that, you know, when you read the guidelines for things, you know, this might be more appropriate for this person. And I always try to find things. If I see something that I don't think I'm going to submit to, that I'll send it to some specific people that I think.
Sure.
You know, and there's a couple of like Facebook groups that are about submitting free submissions and stuff, because submissions can cost money. So anything that's free is always better, because poets don't make a lot of money.
True.
And a trip to New York is a hell of an expensive thing.
It is.
So, you know, it's about, you have to, I think the reason that I waited for so long was that I didn't feel that I had the mental capacity for the rejection. And then also, when I read that it could take up to 6 months sometimes to get an answer, which has happened to me.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes I get that you get accepted for something, and you forgot that you actually had you actually put in.
Like, who's this? What's this magazine?
You forgot that you put in the submission because it took so long. And then also, you know, I'm not the person who has the mental capacity to do the simultaneous submission. So everything that I do is going to be a single submission until I get a rejection. And some places don't actually send rejections.
Right.
Right. No,
I
no, it's just in the void
A
for
lot of
eternity.
places are
a
here now.
highly stressful thing. And,
It is.
and there are so many rules. Like, I mean, there was one thing that they made you put, I don't know, the way they had me do the headings in like a heading section rather than just put your thing in. And it was like, and the Microsoft Word doesn't allow you to do it. It's like, they have all these weird, quirky ways to set the page up, and it's like
Every single different submission, like magazine, is like a different like detail of this, that, and the other. It's like a part-time job.
characters. Some of them say you can only have 60 characters in one line. Does it include spaces between the stanzas? Does it include the title line? And if they don't say it, I'll try to write them a letter and hope they send me something back, because I don't know.
That's right.
And I don't know if I've been rejected for not following the specific rules.
Right. You know what they're trying to do is that it's less work for them. Then they can just take what you wrote. If they accept it, then it's like, oh, they just take it and boom, they put it right into their.
Well, like, thanks for formatting it for us.
Formatting for it, right? Because they don't want to bother with working with you to see where you can break the line.
Poetry, it's rough out there, poets.
And also, you can also do a little bit of campaigning for yourself if you want to win an award.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Well, I didn't do that. I meant to do that because I talked to a lot of people who have been nominated quite a few times, and they all told me, yes, they wrote letters to the people who published them. And some people, I guess you don't do that with the real biggies, but I'm not going to apply to the real biggies because I'm not ready to do that yet, and I don't think I'm enjoying what I'm getting right now, and I get to, and most of them I have to buy the books. They don't give them. A few have given me some free anthologies and stuff, but that's rare.
No, that is kind of the way it is out there. But every time you're kind of making that contact or writing a letter like that, you have another person in your community. You have another person, hopefully, like in your corner.
Exactly.
It's not a bad idea at all. I have a question for both of you before our final question. I would love to know, like, what is your typical writing practice? Do you have a specific time of day, place, etc.? Do you have a specific notebook? Do you have a specific computer situation, pen, cup of coffee? Shannon, and then Generalissimo. It's okay if you have no pattern.
So I will. Well, I do. I did. So it was, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for it because it's a bad thing that turned into a good thing that's turned into a complicated thing. So
I love that.
It was a cup of coffee with my laptop and smoking out on the patio. It was that for years. It has now been 2 years since I've stopped smoking.
Yay!
And which is great. I feel great, and I'm glad I stopped. But in that, I've actually lost the drive to write the way I used to write. So it killed my mojo for a while. So,
I get it.
Now I finally figured it out. So now it's a cup of coffee on my couch with I got an iPad this time around instead of a laptop, so I'm trying that out. And when I write, everything else kind of falls away. So my family could be doing whatever they're doing, but I've got my headphones on, I've got some music playing, coffee, and then I'm just
in zone. Yes.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Was that in the morning as things are getting going? Is that a specific time, or it just happens? It happens within the day.
I wish I could write in the morning, but I get up early and I'm a teacher, so I have to get ready and go to work. So I only get about 20 minutes to kind of relax.
Yeah.
So it's usually in the evening. I'm a nighttime writer. So
That's
it works
perfect.
for me.
Yeah, whatever works, right?
Whatever works is the key. And it's good to hear about, everybody's different sort of habits and practices, because I think, it's always inspiring and interesting, and we're all kind of struggling with the same kinds of stuff at the end of the day, I think, in terms of like any kinds of barriers or issues. So that's great. That's great to hear. What about you, Generalissimo? How does it happen? Does the spirit move? Do you have scheduled writing times, or
Oh
all
God, I can't. I'm not incapable of having a scheduled writing time. I think that for me, a lot of times I get triggered
Yes.
into writing something.
Yes.
So a lot of times it's one of my favorite things, I think, was when I started going to poetry readings in Portland, Maine, and I would see people always writing during poetry readings. I thought it was
Oh, cool.
then I started then it happened where someone said triggered something, and I had nothing to write down. I had to get a piece of paper and a pen from someone else, and I love writing in comp books.
Yes.
Comp are
I
my
think you do too, Chris.
Oh, I do,
So
definitely.
when I talk about the cardboard cover, the black and white cardboard cover comp book, it's my thing. They have no spirals. They're easy. They're small. They're easy to handle. You can have a big stack of them, and they're not
There's
Yeah.
something
hard to
nice about
grab. And
that.
I love a
Yeah.
comp book. And some and this also goes with submitting because I tend to submit in groups, and it's a lot of work to submit because you have to do each one, and it can take up to 20 or 30 minutes to do a submission, or even longer, depending if you want to put 5 poems into a submission.
That's
But
right.
but a lot of times I can't write at home, so I love those little rooms in the library that you can
Yeah.
lock yourself in, right?
Yeah.
With anything, I think that getting away to a space where you can be almost claustrophobic, even,
Away from everything.
I would love to be able to afford to take a weekend at a hotel or something, and that's not affordable. You know what I'm saying? If
Let's go, Generalissimo. I was in Algonquin a little while ago.
okay, so you were in a Algonquin a little while ago, and you did not call and say, let's have
Oh, I'm
lunch.
so
So
sorry.
now I'm going to make you feel guilty because it's a 45-minute drive away from me.
Okay, next time, Generalissimo, we gotta go. We're gonna go to the beach. I know this place has a great hot tub, and we're gonna write, and then we're gonna go and get drinks. It's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be full of writing and fun.
Okay, well, either that or I can come to Connecticut. That's wonderful.
Oh my
have a friend
God.
in,
Generalissimo, if you came
Georgia.
down as a feature for one of our in-person open mics, that would like make
I
my
would
day.
love to
Let's
do
talk about
that. I would love to maybe surrounding the poetry festival.
it. Oh yeah. Okay, we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this.
Later. Yeah. So a lot of writing is either triggered, but also one of my other things is I have found that workshops are a lifeblood to getting myself writing when I can't write.
Totally.
And it's hard because a lot are pay. So I've only paid for a few. And I did a
Right.
real expensive one recently that was like over one day, like 3-hour sessions over 6 weeks. It was really good, but it was expensive.
Yeah, no, I
I
totally understand.
wish I could afford to do those more often.
Yes. Yeah, no, we get it. We totally get it. Awesome, Generalissimo. It's great to hear about your process. That's very similar to mine. Most often I'm sort of triggered into it, and I'm like, make sure I have a notebook on me at all times, or at least my phone's note app,
Or read it in the microphone on your phone, on your
Yeah, or like just
record
voice do a little voice note. All right, Chris, I think it's time for our famous
It is.
last double question.
It is indeed, and we'll start again with Shannon, and it's a double question. So first part is a pearl of wisdom for writers out there. It's just a bit of advice, something you picked up either on your own or maybe something Da Chen told you, or whatever that works for you. And then part two of this is a book recommendation of any book at all that floats your boat and you would love for other people to read.
Oh no. Okay. So okay. Best piece of advice. Probably I have a few, but that I always go to when I'm talking to people. The very first piece of advice I'd have is actually comes from some mentors. One piece of advice that is still stuck with me even to this day is Eugenia Kim.
Mm.
Absolutely love that firecracker.
Woo! You too.
She was she was my very first mentor on my very first semester at Fairfield. Her advice to me, and I've given it to other people too, was when all else fails, write what you know.
Yes.
Whether that's the emotions of your character
Mm-hmm.
correlate to who you are as a person. So I find a lot of my characters do have some of my personalities in there. Or, my first book that I actually wrote at the MFA, I brought in my dad's disease that I had actually had to experience as a child.
Right.
Became a big player in that book. So
Right.
to any writer, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, I feel like even poetry can go along with this. Is look at the world around you and use that in your writing, because it will enhance or flavor your poems or really bring something solid to your writing. You just got to look.
Absolutely.
And then a recommendation. Oh my gosh, I have a massive stacks here.
Anything that's a recent favorite, even.
Oh,
it's a hard question.
What? Actually, I'm really into it right now. I actually have it on my shelf right now. So I just picked it up. It is a fiction recommendation. For any of you who guys like fantasy on the darker edge. I've been really, because one of the newest books I'm writing, a Edgar Allan Poe retelling, but a young adult romance-esque style. So I've been really getting into books that are on the darker side. So Carrie, I'm going to say her name wrong so bad, but this is one of the books, but it's her Kingdom series. Kingdom of the Wicked, I think, is the first one.
Cool.
And it's Carrie Maniscalco.
Yeah,
it's like an Italian. Yeah, it's an Italian take on like the kingdoms of the underworld, and like there's it's very good, and it's got like Italian magic rather than like your traditional like Salem magic like we would recognize. It has kept me up. It has festered while I'm trying to sleep.
I love it.
There's just something about Carrie's writing. It is like it's a romance too, so it hooks you like page one, and a book hasn't done that to me since I read The Fault in Our Stars. And I ate, like on a train ride. That was gone on a train ride to New York from Connecticut. But yeah, her series, pick it up if you really like the dark romantic.
Yeah.
Siri likes it too. She's listening.
That's awesome. What a tremendous recommendation. That's how you want to feel when you read. Totally engrossed and excited, and like everything, the story is living with you. We love that. Thank you so much for your pearl and recommendation, Shannon. Generalissimo, a pearl of wisdom for writers and a recommendation.
I like what she was saying about using everything around you as part of your writing.
Yes.
It does sneak in. I find that I love listening to other people read, and that because the best thing that's happened to my writing has been the inundation of all the Zooms, and it has changed my repertoire it has expanded my repertoire so much. I've experienced different styles of writing and delved into prose, and it's amazing that just listening. I mean, that's life. It's life in general, but listening to other people's work and actually listening while they're doing it, how it really will affect you and influence you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say again, workshops are so amazing if you can do them.
Yes.
And I'll give you a great book that won a National Book Award. It's actually a social justice commentary poetry book by a woman named Martina McGowan. If you've ever heard of her, she I want to say she's in her 60s. She was a doctor.
Yes.
Or she might still be a doctor. Do you know who she is?
It's ringing a bell, but
I Am the Rage. And it's about being Black with everything that's going on for Black people. But it's
right.
Great read. It's easy you can read all the way through this book as a white person like me. So, and I was very lucky to be able during the Zoom to become friends with her through Zoom.
That's amazing.
my features and stuff, and I went to her features, but her writing is so accessible.
Yeah.
Sometimes that type of social justice writing is less accessible. It's great to read, but you have to stop because it doesn't necessarily hurt. It's just hard to read. And
it's painful.
It's tough to read, and it's such an amazingly. I've read it like 3 or 4 times already.
That's awesome. All right. I need to read both of these books that you two have mentioned.
I Am the Rage is what it's called.
I Am the Rage. I love that title too.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Generalissimo. What a fabulous pearl and a fabulous recommendation as well. One more round of applause, people, for S.H. Clark and Generalissimo Bryan Franco. Woo! And another round of applause for our fabulous audience. We love you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for sticking with us all of these years. We love doing this, and we love, Bryan, Generalissimo, what you've said about, just the value of online readings and community and how that has just helped you kind of just blossom as a writer even more. We're so overwhelmed and delighted to be a part of of all of that's happened since the pandemic. Definitely what has been a tremendously rough time, but has been the silver lining for us. Both of you were so incredible this evening. Everybody go get their books and follow them on social media. And we'll be in person on Friday at Eco Evolution. It's going to be amazing. Anybody in the tri-state area, get down to Norwalk, Connecticut.
Check it out.
And Chris, after that, in 2 weeks, it'll be the 3-year anniversary with Chris Belden and Katie Schneider.
Unbelievable.
It's going to be amazing. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much.